So in this one, I'm going to start off with getting these various pieces off the post, because I want to get everything cleaned up. So I'll do is I'll be taking the motor mount, which I need to drill one of these old snapped off bolts out of. Take like this little chain that the previous owner had for holding the key on. And we'll get these slid off the post once I get them loosened up and take them off. Get them all cleaned up, and we'll do the same thing with the platform and the base. And once they're all cleaned up and painted, we can have their pole cleaned up, and we'll start putting everything back together. So I'm just going to start pulling some parts off now. So I've got the head of the drill press off. The belt adjustment, you can see on this side, the thumb screw came out. But on this side, the thumb screw is actually cracked off in the hole. So I'm going to have to kind of grind that in that little point, drill it out, and to try to get that apart. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is I'm going to focus on getting the rest of the components off of the post. And then we go ahead and focus our attention on the individual components. So just want to give the post a quick clean now that I got the head and the, I guess the table off. I just want to see what it's going to look like. So you saw me give it a quick wipe down there. I'm going to try a bit of steel wool and just give it a quick polish here. Some brake clean. So you can see here, there's a bit of rust and pitting and stuff. I'm hoping that with a bit of elbow grease or maybe even a real fine sandpaper maybe. I mean, we can always go through a gamut of different grits and stuff up to like 2,000 or 3,000, get this nice and smooth, and then polish it so it looks good and things are nice and slippy. And at that point then we can go ahead and get the pole grease up with some light grease when we want to slide things back on. I'm just going to give that a quick wipe now, a bit more brake clean. There's still a lot of pitting, drunk as shit on it, but like I said, this will just give us a general idea of what we're working with. We got a lot of dirt and crap off it. So you can see, yeah, it's pretty clean. There's a couple spots where there's pitting, where the bottom part of the head was clamped on. Not a big deal. Yeah, it looks like we'll be able to clean it up really well. So looking at the drill press table, it's in a pretty big state. There's a lot of old crunchy, shitty wood and stuff left on there. So I'm going to go ahead and go at this with the a wire wheel after I hit it with some brake cleaner for a bit. But you can see where the previous owner actually had drilled into the table bed multiple times. Now I'm going to pick up a 6-inch drill press vise to mount on this here. I'm going to paint the same colors as everything else. For the time being, I'm going to finish taking it apart. We're going to go ahead and get it cleaned up. So with this mostly cleaned up, you can see the pattern of use over years. Essentially, you can see how this table was swiveled under the drill head, or the drill press head, and the bits have drilled down into the table. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish cleaning up this surface, especially around these spots where it's drilled into the deck. And then I'm going to come back with my welder, and I'm actually going to fill in these holes, and then I'm going to grind them flush again, so that way this will look pristine. So we'll have a bit of buildup over here. It's probably going to take a while. I'll just spot welds over and over again, but we'll get it filled up eventually. Then we have a nice flush flat surface. So I think what I'm going to do in instances like this piece here where a lot of the paint comes off just by scrubbing is I'm going to clean them up roughly, like give them a decent cleaning, and the intent is still to put these into the sandblaster with the glass bead and give them a really good cleaning up. So you'll see if I scrub and scrub here and give it a quick wipe, it'll come mostly clean, but you can still see where the surfaces were mated up for, 70 years. So at this point, we've got a couple things left to do. This piece is still currently 2 pieces. So you'll see right here, there's a spot where there's a thumb screw that you use to adjust how far away the motor is from the quill for adjusting belt tension. The screw on this side was actually broken off when I bought it, so that needs to be drilled out, cleaned out so we can get this apart. And then the second thing we're going to be doing today is we're going to be getting this cleaned up a bit more, and then we're going to go ahead and fill all these holes with weld. So let's get that motor mount plate off of the head first. So I just got the motor mounting plate out of the back of the head. You can see there's a lot of gunk and stuff, but on this side you can see someone has ground that down a bit, just in a few spots. I guess they're having issues with it fitting in. But either way, I've not finished drilling out this side. It's mostly done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to chase back in before I clean this up, or probably after I clean it up with sandblaster. Yeah, probably after. I'll chase this back in with something that's a little larger, and when I land on a final diameter, I should then be able to tap this out. I'll drill the other side to make it the same, pick up 2 identical thumb screws, and that way we'll have something that we can use going forward for adjusting the belt tension via the motor mount. Now that I've got the head and motor mount separated, I can focus on getting all these apprentice marks cleaned up on the drill press table. So what I'm going to do, so you see there's a few spots here where there's a bit of rust and the like. I'm just going to go back across with some brake clean, parts clean, try to get these holes as clean as possible. Get in there with the brass bristle brush for a bit. Get as much cleaned up as I can. And once that's clean as possible, I'll come back with the air gun and blast it off so it's as neat and tidy as I can get it. And then we'll start filling these up with some weld. So I've got about a third of this done so far. As you've seen, I'm just giving it a scrape every once in a while and making sure I'm not leaving any low spots. And I can always come back after I do my first grind anyways. So I'm gonna put a bit right here. And I got the couple of the deepest ones coming up, and then these complete tragedies over here to take care of. So I'm gonna go away, continue getting some weld down in this, and then I'll bring you back when I'm ready to start doing some grinding. So here we have our extremely hot drill press table. I managed to get all the holes filled in to the best of my ability. I also managed to set my pants on fire while I was doing that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with the flap disc on my grinder and start lightly taking this stuff down to the surface here. And once I get down to the surface, I'll be able to see if there's any holidays. So I can come back in, fill in my holidays. So you can see now over on this side here, I've got this leveled off. Watch because this is really warm. There still feels like a little bit of a hump there, but that's the hump that I'll take care of when I go ahead and flat push this. So you can see where the holes are filled in from this side of things. I don't think that's going to be much of a big deal though, because I'm going to come back after and hit this with a wire wheel. And that way this will have a consistent look all over. So I'm going to go for like a brushed type look. Not like it matters because there's going to be a vise on top of this anyways, but it does matter to me a bit, I guess. Okay, so I clued up the filling in of the deck, and it looks pretty good from this angle. If you look straight down on it, you can kind of see exactly where the weld went in. I'm going to say that's really because the metal coming out of my MIG wire, or the metal that is my MIG wire, versus the metal that is this cast iron, are different alloys. So now in an attempt to give this, I guess, a uniform look, I'm going to go at this whole surface with the wire wheel just to see how that looks. And then depending on how that goes, looks good, we'll leave it like that and we'll just hit it with some light oil once everything's said and done. Otherwise we'll come back and we'll hit it with some steel wool or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit it with this and we'll take a quick look at it. So here's what I'm going to call a finished product. This is good enough for me. Remember, this was nothing but a giant hole all the way across here. About this big here, back through here, another hole here, deep holes all along here. So what I did after I went at this with the flap disc and the wire wheel, just came back in with a random orbit sander and some 150 and just went over the whole surface. So now this will be treated with light oil and the rest of it will be painted on the sides. It'll be all the same color. So I'm trying to think now either I might do the same red, I mentioned this before, as the lift, or I might go with the original gray color and it's just a really, you know, old flat. This is a drill press gray color. Now at this point I'm ready to start cleaning up all the parts. So I'm essentially just going to come into this everything actually with a bit of brake and parts cleaner, stiff wire brush, and like this stuff has 50 years worth of grunge on it. You can see, maybe you can see, but there's the original color there. It looks like it sort of showing up. Yeah, so you can see the lighter gray. So I'm going to get this all cleaned up like that, and then I'm going to take all these components into the sandblaster, that's the word I'm looking for, so we can get this all blasted down to the bare metal and we get everything painted up and ready for reassembly. So depending on how bit of footage I shot while I was sandblasting worked out, you might have saw some of that. Here's the head, the table collar, the table itself, the motor mount, the front belt shield, the 2 pulleys, and our handle blasted and ready to go. So now at this point, what I'm going to do, oops, sorry we're giving you the boots there. I'm going to hit all these with a bit of brake cleaner just to clean them up and let them dry off. And once they've dried off, this piece here, the handle piece, I'll tape this up. Is going to get some primer. That's going to be a primer, the sides of the table, and the whole back motor mount piece. And we'll leave the pulleys the way they are. So I'm going to get those cleaned up. Maybe you'll see me shoot a bit of primer on those. And from there, we'll be ready to get some paint on those components. So as you can see here, I went ahead and chose the utilitarian gray color that was on these originally. I had a can there that was very similar, so I just went ahead and decided to use that. So we've got the head done. We've also got our other components done over on the bench drying, so you can see the table and a few clamps and whatnot there, the handle. And I also went ahead and just did a bit of twacking around on the chuck itself. You can see it's over there in the vise right there. So I got that freed up a bit. Got it oiled so it seems to be working well. A bit of cleaning up, maybe some water really just to take the tarnish off it, or maybe we'll leave the patina, who knows. So now it's time to order some bearings, and those are going to be about a week before they get here. So we're going to call this part 2. We'll get this edited and put together for your guys' enjoyment, and then hopefully sometime next week our bearings will show up and we'll be ready to go ahead and get this thing back together. So thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll see you on the next one.